Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Look Back, where I take a look at an event and after going through it again, see if it was either a positive or negative event in my life. And for today's episode, we'll be going over why I think Madara Uchiha is the worst villain in Naruto.
Stop right there!
An overuse intervention joke?
That's right, Trevor. It is I, God. I demand you cease your Naruto passion. You have another task to complete.
But I want to talk about this idiot. Can't it wait?
No, Trevor. You are going back to your roots. You are going to talk about One Piece now.
Oh, come on. I can't expand the range of my channel.
You mean you sacrificed the main content on your channel?
I did no such thing.
Oh, really? When was the last time you made a video on One Piece?
That's easy.
One that was actually edited.
I think I see the problem.
Oh, do ya?
Fine. Let's talk about everyone's favorite storyline, the Whole Cake Island arc. Or if you want to rhyme scheme it, the Coast Lake Highlander arc.
Trevor!
You brought this on yourself, old man! Run the intro again. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of this, where I do this and see if this did this or if it was a bad this for me. Today on this, we'll be talking about this.
Am I dead yet?
What is it about Whole Cake Island that makes it so unique? No, really. In every aspect, this arc does things so drastically different that it's no surprise that the overall reaction to this arc was also unique. Whenever a new chapter during this time period was released, I felt like everyone was a wrestling fan. You either loved what was happening and you were screaming your head off, or you were screaming because something or someone you loved took a massive loss. According to the internet, you either declare this to be your favorite One Piece arc, or you're a hateful and petty bitch that doesn't understand what One Piece is. Don't you just love that kind of mentality? Oh no! One of fiction's longest and most popular stories has a few flaws according to a variety of opinions? How unorthodox this is! How dare someone not agree with me on this arc? Now obviously that isn't a quote from anyone. If that were true, there'd be more swears. But today, I want to look at this arc one more time. One more read straight through to determine if this arc for me was overrated or underrated. I've stated multiple times on Twitter that I thought this arc was okay during its unveilance. You know, there is a balance between the good and the bad and neither outweighed the other. But who knows, maybe my opinion can change. Let's take a look at one of One Piece's most divisive stories, Whole Cake Island. So I guess to properly begin, I should talk about the hype this arc unleashed when it was first announced. It made a few promises and every one of them would be significant. Not only would this arc be the first time where a Yonko was the main antagonist, but it also promised to reveal the backstory of Sanji. And this event was so important, everyone called this the Year of Sanji, even though the arc lasted more than 2 years and I think I found like 2 to 4 moments of Sanji. So to be more accurate, maybe like 4 weeks of Sanji while Luffy stole the show, just like how Goku steals the win. This arc also promised to be long, but would have better pacing so we don't get a repeat of Dressrosa. But basically, this arc promised to dive into the history of not only Sanji, but Big Mom as well. The theme of this arc was a literal fairy tale wedding, mixed with of course the oldest and noblest of pirate traditions.
We must fight to run away.
So, with all that mixed together, looks like we got a concoction for a fantastic arc. Hell, some could argue that this was the first real New World arc, since we're no longer dealing with warlords or even the Navy, and the fact that in my head, Fishman Island was a hallucination created by an H.P. Lovecraft deity that feeds on tortured minds. It's now all about the Yonkos and just how outclassed our heroes are in comparison. We have 78 chapters to cover, so get ready for a long one. Grab a drink, get a snack, just not sweets, otherwise Big Mom will crawl out of your screen and take those along with your soul. Whole Cake Island's arc officially begins on chapter 825, which is a little strange, honestly. Before the Zhao arc happened, Beijing blackmailed Sanji to surrender to Big Mom because she wants a political marriage between her family and his. So in a way, that scene could be the start of Whole Cake Island, while Zhao was a quick little subplot. but I understand if Oda wanted to keep these two stories separate because both have significant moments and don't need to be connected to each other. But the really strange thing is that this arc doesn't start at chapter 824. In that chapter, Luffy and the Sanji retrieval team are good to go, while Sanji sees Puddin for the very first time. I honestly thought that this chapter was the official start, but I guess not. This isn't really anything to complain about, I just found it interesting in the grand scheme of storytelling. Anyway, we begin with what I'm going to call the setup plot. Here, everything we need to know about the arc is explained before the action begins in the Seducing Woods. We get to meet Reiju and Yanji for the first time, and we get a pretty big exposition dump about the Vinsmoke family. Thankfully, Oda has mastered a form of storytelling where the exposition is spread out through well-timed distractions. One panel, they'll talk about the history of the Vinsmokes, but then in the next panel, we'll see a lighthearted but cool intro for Reiju as she kicks Yanji to the sea and saves Luffy from certain death. I really appreciate that Oda has taken his time introducing the major players in this arc. While we would get new characters up until the arc ends, he does put effort in most of these new characters' introductions, each being appropriate rather than dumping the whole cast on top of us in one chapter like Interrosa and that other arc. Speaking of which, did anyone else get Dressrosa vibes when Luffy and friends arrive on Whole Cake Island? A virtual paradise that has different races of beings, that has the appearance of something fantastical, but is really a dark empire that literally tampers with your soul. Thank God that's not a reoccurring location in this story. On to chapter 827, where we get to meet the bride-to-be, Puddin!
Oh, he's that pudding. So smooth, so jiggly. I can't wait.
Everyone's favorite character? Alright, I'm going to admit it. I was fooled by her. She was too good to be true, but she did have potential. See, during the first third of Whole Cake Island, Puddin shows some core similarities to Sanji. She likes to cook, she appeared to have a strong morality, and she didn't want to get married thanks to her sister Lola. Even when Puddin was alone with no evil side to show, she did think about her lost sister. Maybe all she needed was to see someone who could actually fall for her, and someone else to show no fear to her all-powerful mother, on her own turf for that matter. I always thought that she was groomed for political marriage since her conception and that was it. Everyone else would think she would just be a good little girl and believe that she would do anything for Big Mom, only for her to do a justified 180 on the job she has been raised to do. I thought Oda was going to build up that character, but it's not exactly what happened. To put it bluntly, once Puddin revealed herself as evil, how to put this lightly, she became comic relief. While I can appreciate the initial twist, there's no follow-through or consequences that stem from this. All the complexity Puddin had fades away and she turns into a bipolar joke. Until the final chapter of this arc, she only had two forms of dialogue. The first was her just spouting violent tantrums, and the other being a literal love-hate joke with Sanji. This is every one of their scenes together after her evil reveal. Puddin, we have to do this thing. Sanji-kun! Are you okay, Puddin?
Shut up, you fuck! I'm gonna murder you and watch your blood gush to the floor, you disgusting bitch.
Cool. You're so sexy, Sanji-kun! Every single time. Puddin's development suddenly took a U-turn, and it felt like Oda had to make a new backstory just to fit the new narrative. Call me a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Wouldn't be the first time.
But I feel like the out-of-nowhere flashback Puddin had at the wedding was thrown in there because Oda wanted to get it out of the way. It was part of a checklist to address any concern about all of his characters. Except by addressing Puddin's backstory in a rushed manner, many were instead confused rather than appreciative. Puddin's whole shtick was that she was made fun of as a kid, and that caused her to awaken her inner psychopath. Now that's just weird. Wait a second, what did I just say? Puddin's whole shtick was that she was made fun of as a kid, and that caused her to awaken her inner psychopath. She was ridiculed as a child.
Why?
I mean, it's not like she's the daughter of a Yonko. You know, the person that owns everyone's soul. Who would do that? You're telling me that if you were a common citizen and you saw one of Big Mom's children and they looked weird, you would openly mock them and think you'll get away with it? That makes no sense. But you know what? I can take it. I mean, so long as it was an isolated incident and people targeted Puddin because she seemed too weak and no one would care she was made fun of, fine. I can get behind that. It's not like Oda used child abuse multiple times in this arc to force us to have some new perspective on his villains. Oh, come on! Now, Oda is no stranger to using sad flashbacks so that we can feel some form of compassion to both his heroes and villains. But when you have the same type of flashback multiple times, it doesn't matter they revolve around different characters, it's still the same rehashed motivation used in one arc. This doesn't make these characters unique, it makes them the same. It's the same issue I had with the Vinsmoke brothers and is one of my largest problems with this arc. Some of these new characters have great potential to be their own thing, but they can also fall victim to cliches that hold back development. An exception to this was Reiju. She was one of the most fleshed out characters and she wasn't even one of the main stars. She was more of a side character. But as I read this arc again, I started to get why some people weren't impressed with Big Mom's crew. Only a few managed to pop out while the rest were fodder. It's like that scene in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows where Voldemort is center stage and he has this big presence and it should be supported by this vast number of followers, but most of them, especially the named ones, don't get the development they need, so they're just faces in a crowd. I don't care about any of them. I only like or know 2% of the crowd. Swap Voldemort with Big Mom and I see no difference. I'll be coming back to this topic as it gets more relevant later on, but we need to move on to something positive. What happens after we meet Puddin in chapter 827? Oh, that's right. Greatness. I love Big Mom's intro. I think it's the craziest introduction I've seen in One Piece yet. And that's after the one where we saw a man try to kill himself by pulling a Wile E. Coyote. The artwork, the cluster of objects dancing, the lyrics, that last panel that shows that Luffy is doomed from the start, it's great stuff. The next important scene goes right back to Puddin's house, where we get another exposition dump, this time about Big Mom and the Charlotte family. It's here where we learn that since the age of 18, Big Mom has given birth for 42 years. Not only that, but as of right now, she has 85 children. 85! And I thought Ace's mother Rouge had the status of best birth story. Now obviously we don't see all of Big Mom's children in this arc, rather we have the focus on a lot of the higher up members of the family, while there are also shots and minimal actions taken by less important relatives. Which oddly works both in favor and against the overall story for me. I'm glad there's a little effort in establishing priorities, but I felt like more work was needed. One of the larger complaints in this arc is that while most of the relatives featured are powerful and important in their own right, they not only take away the attention from characters who could use it, but they also don't really do anything with said attention. One of the revelations from a recent SBS was that Katakuri, Oven, and Daifuku were triplets and some of the oldest and most powerful siblings. However, this arc did not need all three of them. If you want to show off Big Mom's massive family, go for it, but the focus on primary villains like Katakuri has to be more prominent. If these characters are there just because it's their home and Oda didn't have any big plans for them, it can hurt their reputation in the future. There's a reason why Smoothie being useless is a run-in joke. One of the 4 sweet commanders with an interesting ability that has a bounty of 932 million, and what does she do? Fail at her security job and torture a giraffe. I hate to compare commanders since crews are different, but remember Whitebeard's crew? Even though they weren't the strongest or the most fleshed out, they were still formidable and you knew what they were about. And while Katakuri and Perospero would earn their place as primary sibling threats, the others just don't hold that same weight, mainly because we've seen them fail to stop 8 pirates and the 5 royal fighters that they wanted to work with and then expertly kill, all while they had the home field advantage. I don't think it would have been impossible to write some of the higher ranked siblings like Daifuku out of the arc. While it is a miracle that the Straw Hats survived this matter with everyone involved and miracles are their line of work, the uncanny valley or my suspension of disbelief for this miracle is just too much for me. If more focus went to characters like Katakuri instead of sharing unneeded screen time with others, I think we could have had a simpler yet more realistic and effective arc. I can get why Oda kept most of the family there, as it does fit with the whole Tea Party plot, but now I can't look at this crew anymore and think, oh yeah, they will so be formidable in the future. Anyway, we then cut to the official introduction of Ichiji and Niji. It's cool for an intro, moving on.
Are you ever going to talk about the Vinsmokes?
I don't know. Are you ever going to let me explain how I feel about this bland mullet Aizen and Frieza hybrid mutant ripoff?
No.
Well, there you go. So Puddin helps the Straw Hats by making a map that will lead them to a forest, and from there, it's a straight shot to Sanji. But meanwhile, at that very location, Big Mom has a new plot point established, her hunger tantrum. Periodically, if Big Mom desires a certain food but she can't immediately get it, she goes on an unstoppable rampage. No one would dare touch her and she can't be reasoned with. There doesn't seem to be any core reason why this happens to her, it's pretty much her quirk, but that quirk is significant since it has 2 major revelations as the story progresses. This is also when we see her power on full display as she literally rips the soul out of one of her sons as everyone else, family and otherwise, watch in horror. However, Jinbei, quite conveniently I must say, comes out of nowhere with Big Mom's desired food and calms her down. I'm not even gonna question how Jinbei got the food and went to Big Mom that fast, but whatever. Following that event, Jinbei tells Big Mom that he wants to leave her crew so that he can join Luffy's. Naturally, this disturbs Big Mom, so she brings out a wheel of torture to determine what Jinbei sacrifices if he wants to leave. So now it's time for the Trevor Tiger Pop Quiz! Can you guess what Jinbei had to lose? Is it A, his arm, B, half of his lifespan, C, his sun pirate tattoo, or is it D, his dignity after being forced to watch a Trevor Tiger One Piece theory video? If you guessed any of these, then congratulations, you are wrong, because somehow Jinbei gets away from Big Mom by not spinning the wheel and is free to roam around the castle. Wait, what? We then cut to the Sunny as the Straw Hats sail for the forest that Puddin instructed them to go to. This is also when the crew decides to split up. Brook and Pedro shall infiltrate the mainland in order to get their hands on the road poneglyph. Meanwhile, Luffy, Nami, Chopper, and Carrot will traverse the map and go through the forest as planned. This leads us to the next part of this arc, the Seducing Woods, and this is honestly my favorite part of the arc. I personally think that Oda's creativity for this arc was fully utilized here. When I read through this the first time, I was so confused yet really intrigued as to what was going on, and in true Oda fashion, everything here was logically explained. The Seducing Woods are a trap for pirates because the trees themselves move around, causing you to literally run in circles. You're also at the mercy of certain enemies, like a fancy-looking rabbit carrying a spear named Randolph!
I have so many questions!
To what I can only assume is the master of this territory, Brule. Or is it Brule? Whatever. She has an insane devil fruit that's focused on mirrors. Using these mirrors, she can create copies of people, so now I have a reason to use this Sonic joke.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you since I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it?
And on top of that, Brule even has her own mirror world that she can traverse through to go anywhere she likes. It's a lot like Mirror Master from the Justice League cartoon. Brule starts off very intimidating, talking down to Luffy and Nami, able to capture Chopper and Carrot with ease. She's not a fighter, but she's definitely a force to be reckoned with. It's a shame that as the arc progresses, Brule slowly turns into a broken record that comprises of 2 tracks. 1. I'm sorry, Mama! Or 2, Katakuri is the best, and here's why he's the best, so get on your knees or die to his invincible power. Have I mentioned how awesome Katakuri is yet? But there is another mysterious part in the woods, a large man named Pound, who was also one of Big Mom's former husbands and father to twins Lola and Chiffon. Pound is interested. He only makes a few appearances throughout the arc, and while he is someone that should be important since he's a former husband of a Yonko, that's just it. He's not really interested. Almost everything he says and does is of little relevance. I felt like he was written into existence so we could have another strange character in the Seducent Woods, but this time he helps Luffy. He explains Big Mom's powers and his former family ties, but after that, nothing. I'm still confused as to why he's still alive. It's stated that no one cares for him or what he does, but it's also clear that Big Mom and all of her children despise him. Why does he get a free pass to live? It's even shown later that all it takes is one move and anyone will kill him with no fear of consequence. Big Mom even commands it, so was everyone just too lazy to murder him? Was that it? Pound's overall importance is confusing to say the least, but it's not like I can hold too much against him. I mean, thanks to him, he saved Beijing and Chiffon later on the arc by hidden oven, and it's implied that he was murdered for it, so hooray, self-sacrifice? At least Pound had a touching moment looking at his grandkid. That really gross, disgusting mutant of a grandkid. Pound was definitely someone, but he really got to shine at the end. Do you guys get it? Because that's what Goldie Roger said to Pedro, and everyone gets a chance to shine, and that's the major theme of this arc. Pound wasn't that impressive, but it'd be a crime if I didn't mention him somewhere in this review. Meanwhile, we transition back to the Germa 66, where we see the Vinsmoke family back together again. What a sight to behold. Anyway, let's move back to the woods.
Trevor Tiger!
Now what do you want?
You are going to talk about the Vinsmokes now!
What even is there to talk about? One is an actual human being, while the other is a naive, gullible idiot that fell harder than the fanbase's respect for him, and the 3 so-called prodigy sons could be confused with multicolored bricks. They're that bland.
Oh really? Elaborate.
Fine, I will. Shit! Now I can get how this family has fans. I really do, because deep down I like them as well, but only as a concept. A year ago I released an entry of my favorite One Piece villains, and the Vinsmoke family went higher on that list than expected. The primary reason for their slot was their impact on Sanji and how tough they are. I'll give credit where credit is due. The Vinsmokes are powerful and flashy, and I will forever love this image. That being said though, power alone doesn't make the character for me. It might be my expectations, but if we're going to have such important characters linked to Sanji, then I want to see actual character from them. We can't just leave all of the character traits in Reiju and call it a day. The 3 Vinsmoke brothers are the same person. The only things different about them are their attacks and hairstyles. Other than that, same one-dimensional characters, same boring characters, and same disappointments at the end. But Trevor, they were modified to be the perfect soldier since birth. They were experiments for their entire childhood. Surely that can warrant an excuse and make you accept them, right? Nope. Like I mentioned near the start of this video, even though a few of Big Mom's children have similar pasts, they at least have some manner of difference between them that helps make the criticism more bearable. These 3, nothing. I couldn't care less about them. If these 3 were just one brother, then it'd be different for me and I might actually like that kind of character. Speaking of being different, let's finally talk about Judge, a former scientist colleague of Dr. Vegapunk. Judge discovered the lineage factor, allowing him to make scientific advancements, such as creating clones and somehow mixing Sailor Moon with Power Rangers. But don't worry, like all fictional scientists, he is of course a dick and marries a woman named Sora. Also, he could experiment on his possible children and transform them into super soldiers.
Unfeeling, powerful, and aids to the award Worst Father of the Year.
Now up until the wedding, Judge has proved himself a ruthless conqueror and a brilliant mind. His Germa kingdom is nothing to scoff at, so when he wants to join Big Mom to gain power beyond that of a noble, he of course handles this matter in a tactical and sound way. I'm just kidding. He places all of his trust in a pirate, and when he gets betrayed, he cries, gets owned by Big Mom's crew, his son, and takes a lightning bolt to the face. The end. Yeah, for being a feared king, Judge isn't too bright, is he? Like with Puddin', I feel like Judge was rewritten halfway through the arc so that we could get another plot twist, or in this case, character twist. I can never get past his crying. Why would he pour his heart and soul into Big Mom? If he treated this as an alliance like she did at first, that'd be more logical rather than full frontal obedience. Hell, a simple alliance might actually make these two work well together, which would cause a lot of trouble for the Straw Hats. I'm at a loss of words here when it comes to Judge. His first appearance establishes the deadbeat dad and the evil king stereotypes we've come to expect, but then he cries when something unexpected happens, only for him to make one last charge of bravery that lasts as long as Starscream ruling the Decepticons.
Megatron? Is that you?
Here's a hint.
For such a pivotal character in Sanji's life, Judge doesn't seem that impressive in the long run. He has a presence, but it's nothing that special. If that isn't the epitome of Sanji's life in this arc, I don't know what is. But if there was something positive to say about the Vinsmokes, then it's ironically with Sanji. Some were disappointed that Sanji's backstory was yet another sad flashback, but honestly, I think this is one of the best flashbacks we got. I truly felt bad for Sanji and my heart ached for him. This was a kid that was saved from experimentation by his mother and was ridiculed for his human kindness. Sanji didn't know any better. He had no idea that his siblings were so much better than him, and despite his best efforts, would never be as good. He was pummeled, mocked, and unloved by 99% of his homeland, and yet he never stopped. Sanji found a cooking hobby and just wanted to make his mom happy, but when she died, all hope was lost. One fateful night though, thanks to his father's dickishness, Sanji found the opportunity to escape his home and would then meet Zeph, the man that would make Sanji the man he is today, though with pros and cons.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
Unfortunately though, Daddy is in trouble. The whole reason Sanji left the crew in the first place was because Zeph was a target and could be killed at any time by Germa. To make matters worse, Judge made Sanji wear cuffs that would explode if tampered with, so if he does anything, he would no longer have the ability to cook. Not only that, but because of his forced compliance, he's once again a target for abuse by his siblings. It's hard to watch, especially since we know Sanji could fight back now. By the way, I don't know if it's confirmed, but I like to believe that Sanji is stronger than all of his siblings. He deserves something, damn it! Actually, I may have spoken too soon because it turns out those cuffs Sanji's wearing are actually swapped out with fake cuffs by Reiju. She may be mostly a cyborg, but she still does care for Sanji. But god damn it, I just can't help feel that was very convenient for Oda to make. On one hand, I could totally believe that Judge revealed how he was going to make Sanji complicit to his children, knowing it would bring them joy, but to have those fake cuffs prepared at that exact time, at that exact location, in that exact situation, I don't know. Again, my suspension of disbelief is wavering at that point. We then cut to a cliff far away where we see that Beijing took Peckham's away to try and convince him to join his side. Peckham's understandably says no, and Beijing takes that well. I love this scene. We, the audience, are on Beijing's side. If Big Mom can't tell what side Beijing is on, perhaps he can work with the Straw Hats and figure out a way to prevail. But Peckham's, knowing Big Mom more than us, gives an obvious answer, but he also gives some awesome foreshadowing. He states that Beijing is underestimating Mama, and to be fair, he's right. I wonder if Oda was taking a shot at those who believe that Big Mom would actually be defeated in this arc. That way, when we see what actually happens, we think twice about the phrase beating a Yonko. We found out later that Peckham's was saved by Aladdin and the rest of the Sun Pirates, but that doesn't make this scene any less powerful. It's a great setup to the chaos and the power Big Mom is going to display when the time comes. There's only one issue I have with this scene, and that is this thing. It's staying on the screen and it's making me feel uncomfortable. Show me something else to look at, please! Meanwhile, we get to see everyone's favorite scumbag Caesar again. In another awesome link to the past, it's revealed that not only was Caesar making smile food for Doflamingo and Kaido, but he was also working on turning humans into giants for Big Mom. Man really knows how to sell himself to the highest bidder. Of course, Caesar gave up on the giant research since Doflamingo's gig was better, so he lies to Big Mom, saying he'll get the research done, he just blames the Straw Hats for the delay. Big Mom doesn't really seem to care though. That's another thing I like about her. Her thought process is a one-track mind approach, but that doesn't mean it's not effective. Not every villain has to be complex, so I like how Big Mom acts like a witch, but also has the mind of a child. Very devoted to getting whatever she wants at the time, and knowing it can happen because, well, she's Big Mom. She's earned her title as a queen. There isn't much that anyone can really do to stop her. Anyway, Big Mom reveals that she had Caesar's lab reconstructed so he can get back to work. While on the way there, he meets Perospero, the first son of Big Mom, and winner of the Better First Sibling Award because unlike someone else, he actually does something in this arc. Perospero has an awesome devil fruit that can make any kind of candy at any time and can even trap people in said candy, or like mentioned before, make buildings out of the stuff. It's insane and I love it. I was hoping that he had a good fight against someone in this arc, but I guess that's being saved for another time. To be honest, I always wanted Brook to fight him. But if you want to fight, get ready because we finally reached one of the highlights of Whole Cake Island, Luffy vs. Cracker! I love this fight. It starts off like a New World fight, using Haki and Gear 4 to gain the upper hand against someone that has superior skills. In this case, it's Cracker's Devil Fruit. With a simple clap of his hands, he can create biscuit soldiers that have the most impressive armament Haki we've seen yet. Cracker then spends his time inside his biscuit soldiers so that if one goes down, he just has to clap and boom, another freaking sweet commander on the spot. He's pretty strong in his own right. Cracker's only weakness is that he himself can't take a hit. He's that fragile. But that's why he has his literal commander clone army. In a one-on-one fight, he's practically unstoppable. Kinda makes me want to see these two duke it out to see who's truly the strongest. Moving on, this leads us to the second half of this fight that's a giant callback to One Piece Part 1 fights. Nami enters the fray and using her climb attack makes Cracker's soldiers edible for Luffy to eat. There's no Haki involved, there's no flashy fight. It was all about finding the weakness of a devil fruit and then warping Luffy's body in a way that could secure the win. It was practical, the fight was well paced, the ending was satisfying, it was a great fight. There's some really good stakes during the battle. During it, Broly mocks Nami by saying that everything her crew has done is not impressive. Her generation may have made a name for themselves, but that story won't be said in the new world. Some of the supernovas have already succumbed. Apu, Hawkins, and Drake joined Kaido. Beijing is sailing under Big Mom's flag for the time being. Eustace Kid is taking a crimson bath, and Mad Monkey Roge is currently safe after defeating one of the other sweet commanders and seeing Kaido face to face. Wait, what? You're lying. You're rude. Doing all of that? That I like to see. Timber! Well, shit. Where the hell is his animated special? Screw Sky P, I want to see his story. It's awesome to see in one panel one of the most forgettable characters for me instantly become one of the most badass characters. My god, I want to see more of Rouge. But yeah, going back to Broly's taunting, I love this scene because it hits all of us. Oh, the Straw Hats are the main characters. They'll be fine. Broly is just saying whatever she can to rile us up because we know Luffy will win. Except during that exchange, she's right. In that one moment, the full scope of Big Mom is known, as well as the new world. Things aren't going to go as smoothly for the Straw Hats anymore. It's exactly as Zoro said. They're in the big leagues now, so they have to be serious. Otherwise, they'll die, plain and simple. Anyway, after Cracker in a way goes home, Luffy and Nami make their way to Big Mom's cake castle. The seducing woods can't stop them anymore since during this escapade, Nami took out the Vivre card Lola gave to her all the way back in Thriller Bark. It turns out this card belongs to Big Mom's spirit, so any soul-inhabited object, except for Zeus and Prometheus, cowers in fear of the card. So it looks like all is well until they actually run into Sanji. Now that he's being forced into obedience, Sanji must reject Luffy and Nami so that Zeph can still live. He talks down to them, does everything he can to make Luffy leave, but Luffy, being Luffy, of course, doesn't listen. Luffy knows Sanji all too well, so he challenges him to make a move. Sanji accepts. And so we have the infamous Sanji versus Luffy fight, except it's not really a versus match, it's more like Sanji flailing angrily at Luffy until he actually gets knocked down. But that doesn't downplay the emotion of this scene. In one chapter, Oda perfectly sums up the conflict between Luffy and Sanji and sets the stage for the next act. I really like it because the devotion of the Straw Hats have to each other can break through any cover story or lie, even if it's supposed to protect them. Well, aside from Sanji and Zoro, they still have that rough patch they need to work through. If they get counseling, I think they'll be friends in 643 years. No guarantee, but I'm optimistic. So after Sanji is done assaulting Luffy, he leaves with the Vinsmokes in tears. This image right here, I think this perfectly symbolizes Sanji during this entire arc. But Luffy screams in defiance, yelling that until Sanji comes back, he's not moving from this one spot.
What?
To this day, I still don't get this scene. Why would you commit yourself to waiting in one spot? Trevor, it's because it helps in driving a powerful emotional reaction from us. Well, it's a fucking dumb one. You are in Yonko territory. Why would you say to yourself that waiting in one spot would be a good idea? You think this is good because Sanji would never really betray you, but here's the funny thing. He isn't. The fact that he tried to push you away is proof. Luffy has seen this kind of behavior before. It didn't click with him once that this situation was forced on Sanji at all. You just call bullshit and decide to wait thinking everything will be fine, except you don't know jack when it comes to this island, or who's on it, or where even Sanji is going? Brilliant! You know that Carrot and Chopper have been captured, right? Brook and Pedro can't report in, and Nami, being a faithful crew member, is standing by your dumb decision. Here's reality though. By choosing to wait, you are putting Nami in danger. By choosing to wait, you are ignoring Chopper and Carrot. By choosing to wait, you are letting your friend go somewhere, and instead of taking the initiative to find out what exactly is wrong or where he's going, your best train of thought was waiting for him? Like he'll change his mind in an instant and come back? Again, that makes no sense. You know that there's an army out to get you now, right? You were warned about this, and everyone that is your enemy knows where you are. But yeah, staying still out of some emotionally fueled, illogical decision? Perfect plan, 10 out of 10. Wasn't the whole reason Luffy trained was so that he could protect his crew? Good job, you prick. You have allowed all of them, except Brook and Pedro, to be at risk. I don't understand how this scene is considered good to others. It infuriates me because this scene could be worked out in a different way, and any alternative would be better than this. If you like this scene, please tell me how it's great. I'm open to hearing your side, but as of right now, I hate this scene. It doesn't make sense to me at all, and I think it's one of the worst parts in this arc. In fact, maybe the series in general. I hate it that much. Please tell me that there's some karma involved in this. That works. Now, even though I
Hate this scene.
the aftermath is pretty cool. This is pretty much the dark before the dawn. Everyone is in trouble, Luffy's getting rightfully pummeled, and Sanji gives in and accepts the marriage. Almost everything that can go wrong in rescuing him has gone wrong. It ends with Luffy falling over defeated.
I'm still not over it.
And it ends with this iconic shot of Sanji hugging Puddin. Maybe one day he'll finally reach first base. Afterwards, Sanji meets Big Mom face to face to negotiate. He says that he will marry Puddin and all he wants in return is to have the Straw Hats released. Big Mom agrees, but it's not out of the kindness of her heart in a way. She's just too excited about the wedding and the food she'll eat. You know, I'm glad that she's taken this stance. It's nice to see a villain actually be reasonable and not in any way hide behind a really stupid and cliche motivation to kill everyone. Also, fun fact, Sanji is the first Straw Hat ever to officially meet a Yonko. Brook would be the first to fight one, but this is a big moment nonetheless. Would this be a Sanji moment? You know, a highlight of his current year? Whatever, add a point to the Sanji board or whatever.